everyone! So it is time for the back deck July garden tour. So I showed you the front deck in the last video, so now I'm going to take you around the back deck, and I don't want to pick favorites, but I think this is my favorite deck this year. So this is what I consider my more formal garden compared to the front, and that's mainly because I don't have any vegetables out here. It's just all flowers. I think some of them are technically edible, but I don't plan to eat any of them. And then I did try to stick to a color scheme. The color scheme was pink, orange, purple, and white. Some other colors snuck their way in, but I did try to be a bit more organized and coordinated on this deck, and I love how it turned out. And this deck was completely empty 2 years ago. I think I got the raised beds in the fall of 2022, but didn't really plant them up until 2023 because I was gardening on the front deck since 2020. And I said to myself I wasn't going to take over all of the outdoor space, and then I did. Now my husband does appreciate it. He likes being out here amongst the flowers, so I love how this turned out, and I feel like this is the place where I spend the most time. So the couch is out here. That's usually where I start my mornings, where I end the days, and it just makes me so happy. So this deck is a very similar size to the front. It is technically 18 by 19 square feet, but we do have the air conditioning units which take up some space. So in terms of like usable space for the garden, it is a little bit smaller. This does face the east, so we get the morning sun. It is still full sun. It is still at least, I think it's maybe 7 to 8 hours now that the days are as long as they are of full morning sun. And then I would say maybe around noon, these plants over here stop getting sun, which is why my hydrangeas, which I will show you, they can handle the full sun here. They cannot handle the full sun on the front deck, which I found out after frying way too many of them. So with that, let me take you around and I will show you how my back deck garden is looking this July. I'll start by doing a sweep here of the back deck. I love how this is turning out, and I know there are still a few flowers that haven't even bloomed yet, but I'm already in love with just all of the color back here. So for the tour, I'm actually going to start with the hydrangeas over here. So these are right by the door where I come out. I had a video where I put this all together that has more information on the specific types. So I will link that down below, but all of these, so I have, let's see, I have 9 hydrangeas over here and then 3 more. So 12 hydrangeas total. 11 of them are compact hydrangeas. All of these back here are the compact varieties. I'll show you the one that's not in just a second, but the maximum mature size on some of these is 3 feet, and then some I think only get to about 1.5 feet. So fantastic again for container gardens or small spaces. But let's start with my current favorite hydrangea. It has changed a little bit just depending on which one's blooming like crazy, and right now the Wee Bit Innocent is what is blooming like crazy. This has very light pink flowers. This is one where acidifying the soil can change the color, but I am not dealing with any of that. I like to be as lazy as possible in the garden. The Firelight Tidbit here, this one has not bloomed yet, and I actually don't know. I'm trying to see if I see any flower buds. I'm not sure that I do, so I don't know if this one's going to flower, but maybe it will. We'll see. But everything else I think is flowering. We have the Let's Dance Ariba, which I have 2 of these. So that's one there. And then over here is the Tough Stuff Top Fun. So this one's just starting to open up. So Let's Dance Ariba is definitely a brighter pink compared to the Wee Bit Innocent, and I love that contrast of pinks. This one does look like it's also going to be pink, but I believe this one is a mountain hydrangea or a hybrid with a mountain, so the flowers are going to look a little bit different on this one compared to these that are more ball-like. So sweeping over here then, this is the Tough Stuff Aha. So this is what the Tough Stuff Top Fun is kind of going to look like as far as the blooms. A bit more open, not in a tight ball. And this one is blue. I've had this one for either 1 or 2 years. I've never acidified the soil, and yet the flowers come out blue. Why? I don't know, but we're going to go with it and see if they change. This is the other one of the Let's Dance Ariba in the back there. And then this one was blooming like crazy. What is the name on you? This is the Let's Dance Skyview. But the blooms have kind of died back because we had a lot of heat that I didn't really like, and it's starting to form some more buds. But this one and that one are definitely having some issues with iron. Typically, if you see something like this where it's the dark green veining and the yellow leaves, it's an iron issue. So I have been amending it, and I swear every time I add iron, it then rains when it's not supposed to. So I'm just going to keep adding iron until the leaves start to green back up. Then the final two over here, we have Let's Dance Can Do, which is also that brighter pink color, but the leaves are a little bit darker than the other varieties I have. And then Let's Dance Big Band. So this one hasn't flowered yet, but there are buds on it, so I know that they're coming. Now I'll show you the other three hydrangeas that I have. So I have two that are the same. This one here and the other one on the end are the tiny quick-fire hydrangeas that I got from the Grand Garden Show 2 years ago now. I think it was 2022. They were so small when I got them. I think they were in like 4-inch containers, and they did bloom last year. They didn't bloom the first year, but again, they were super small. And those have the white blooms that will eventually get a little bit of pink on them. And then this is the one that is not a compact variety. So this is Pinky Winky Prime. I think the max height is like at least 6 feet. So, I mean, it will stay smaller if I keep it in a container, but ideally I'd like to find a place to give it more space. So we'll see if I can make that happen. But these also have the white flowers, and they're starting to get that little hint of blush pink on them, which I love. And then between these two hydrangeas, because these three hydrangeas are on wheels, so I kind of just move them around, although I do like them kind of around the seating area. But I also have here a Summerific Cookies and Cream Hibiscus. This is, again, a perennial that was really small. It's not going to stay in this pot forever, but it's going to stay in this pot for now. I don't know if I expect any flowers this year, but we'll see. But this one, I think, is hardy down to zone 4. But I am still going to overwinter it in the garage just to be safe. Then up on the table, we have just a little pot here of the Angel Face Cascade Pink Angelonia. I think I put 2 in here, which I probably didn't need to put 2, but I do like how it's turned out. And I originally wasn't going to have something on the table because I do use this table a lot, but I love having the pop of pink up here, just something that also adds a little bit more vertical interest in the garden. So now we will start here on the left. So when I come out of the door from our home, I had the hydrangeas, and then we have this border, and we will sweep around the entire deck. Again, I have specific videos kind of on each section of my garden, so I will link those down below for the back deck. But here in these 3 containers, which actually I realized, so we had somebody come and fix or work on the air conditioning units, so I think I actually swapped 2 of these. But I do have the Angelonia in the center of each of these. So there's one Angelonia in the center of each of these boxes. And then I have begonias on either side of the Angelonia in each of these. But there are 2 different varieties of begonias. Begonias are one of the plants that have not enjoyed the 90-degree days back here. So begonias back here, the impatiens up front haven't loved it. The hydrangeas definitely did not like it. I had to add shade to them with umbrellas, so kind of figuring out what can handle the heat up here and what can't. And again, this is the morning sun deck, so it should be less intense. But this begonia here is the Double Delight Blush Rose Begonia. It is more of like a pinky corally flower, and the leaves on it are a little bit more bluey green, so that's what these 2 are. That's also what these 2 are, which is why I know that I need to swap them with the last box over here. So this should be in the center, and this is the Solenia Apricot Begonia, and look at all those flowers. These are definitely recovering. So the 90-degree temperatures were maybe like a week or 2 ago, and now I feel like they are slowly recovering and starting to flower. In front of those flower boxes, we have the 3 perennials that I just recently planted up. Again, all 3 of these are also compact varieties. So first is the Illuminati Sparks Mock Orange. Also didn't really love the heat. It does have some burnt leaves, but is recovering. No flowers yet, but there were some buds that I've seen on here, so hoping I get some soon. Then over here we have the Scentlandia Sweet Spire. There were blooms on these. I think you can see down there, but they've kind of faded. And I've never grown this plant before, so let me know if they bloom again or not. If not, I probably do need to clean this up a little bit, but I still love the kind of like whimsical growth habit of this. I'm really excited about this plant. Then we have my Weigela. So this is the one that I think only gets to like 1.5 to 2 feet wide at maturity, and I'm so excited. Again, no flowers yet. We'll see if it does bloom again this year or not. But this is the bubbly wine Weigela. And then last over here on this part of the border, we have the Coconut Appeal Black-Eyed Susan vine. I'm growing one up front. Well, 2 in the pot up front. I think there's 2 in the pot back here. So 4 total, but 2 pots of this. And again, I love the craziness of this growth. I definitely need a larger cage. I'm not sure what my long-term plan is going to be for this, but so far, I'm really loving how it's turning out. And this is on wheels too, so I can easily move it around if necessary. Then coming around here, here's my bag of potting soil and my composter. Things are breaking down, but I swear composting is the thing I forget about the most. Like, I forget to turn it, I forget to add water, but so far, things seem to be going well. Stepping back for a second to show you the back border. I loved the back border last year. I love it this year, but I really do love every part of this garden. Like, every part is my favorite. But because almost everything, if not everything, in the raised beds in the back were plants that I started from seed, they did take longer to flower compared to the annuals, like the super petunias that I got, you know, sent to me or either from the garden center that already came with color on them. So I've been so happy to see these start to bloom. So on each side here, I have an emerald green arborvitae. It's smaragd, I think is how you pronounce it. I just replaced hollies that were not cold enough or cold hardy enough. I think they were only down to zone 5, but I think root rot was actually what took these out. These should hopefully be able to last outside. I think they're down to a zone 3. So we'll see how that goes this year. But let's go ahead and start with the furthest left bed. Now, if you've watched the front deck garden tour already, which if not, I'll have that link down below as well, I mentioned that I started certain varieties of Gomphrena that didn't seem to be the color that I got. Also got some colors that I have no idea where they came from. So this is an example of that. So in this bed, I have 2 Gomphrena plants. When I planted them, and I am sure that I didn't get these mixed up and it was from the proper seed packet, I did the QAS Rose here and QAS Salmon. But if I come in closer, you can see that what is supposed to be QAS Salmon is the same color as QAS Rose. And I'm assuming, based on the color of the Gomphrena, that this is actually QAS Rose and not salmon, because none of the Gomphrena are salmon colored. But again, maybe this is just a completely different one, and I have no idea what it is. But they are still pretty. They definitely seem more like a rose color, so that's what I'm going to go with. Then in here I have the Autumn Blaze Celosia from Floret. I got seeds for these in a seed swap, so I'm super excited. I don't know if I gave that enough room, but we will see. I have in here a Deep Apricot Quartet stock. That one is no longer in bloom. I'm going to cut it back, but I'll show you the one that's in bloom in the middle bed in just a second. Then in here I have a Status that has not bloomed yet. Again, I have some blooming that look really pretty, so I'll show you those in a second. And then I have 2 China Asters, which I believe these are the king size apricot asters. And they are just starting to get some buds on them, so we should see these blooming soon. Everything again back here is also blooming earlier than normal, just like up front. And then in the corners here we have my Cupcake Blush Cosmos, which I am excited they're blooming, because last year I planted 3 in the same bed. One of them bloomed first, but was really small and then kind of died back. The second one did kind of what this is doing, which is ideal. And then the third one got really large and barely bloomed at all. It just kept growing larger. Same bed, same environment. Don't know why, but all of the Cosmos that I started this year do seem to be blooming how I'd prefer. We'll start with the Dahlia next. So this Dahlia is the Otto's Thrill Dahlia. You can see how tall this one is compared to the other Otto's Thrill Dahlia. However, the shorter one has a bloom, and the taller one does not. So it's just always interesting to see what plants are going to do. None of the dahlias back here were overwintered in the garage. So all of these were planted as tubers this spring. On the front deck, all of those were overwintered in the garage. So any of these that seem to perform well, I will do that exact same overwintering process. Coming over to the center bed, and this is the one that's making me really happy right now, because I'm starting to see all of the colors coming together. And I knew when I planted the stalk it wouldn't bloom as long as the other plants, but I still wanted to grow it because it's pretty. So on the corners I have the lavender lady gomphrena, which is a really pretty purple color. It's almost coming across lighter and more pink on camera, but is a little bit more blue in person, and is definitely more vibrant, I feel like, than it's coming across. Then I have two different types of status. This is the Status Seeker Rose, and these are definitely more purple than I expected, but I do think it was supposed to be a mix as well. Like, I don't think they were all supposed to be the same color, but kind of a mix of rose shades. And then I have the Status Seeker Pastel Blue, which is a more vibrant blue, but this one's probably my favorite just because I feel like it's the most unique color. It's definitely like a periwinkle color, and I am in love. Then we have this stalk, which again is on its way out, but luckily this one held on long enough for the tour. So this again is the Deep Apricot Quartet stalk. Look how pretty that is. And I know that you can harvest this for bouquets, but these I knew I wanted to leave in the garden. But the Status, the gomphrena, those are cut and come again, so I have been harvesting off of those already for either drying or making bouquets. And then the China Asters I have in the back. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think one of them is the Aster Hagen Blue, which I think is this one. I'm pretty sure. And then I think I did two of the Bonita Shell pinks on the edges. So all three of these are China Asters, two different varieties. I can tell that the flowers are starting to form, but it'll probably still be like a week or two before they start to open up. Now before I head to this last bed, which actually is a repeat of this bed but a mirror image, but there are some things that are further along over there, I will start with these pots in front. This is kind of a mishmash. I didn't plan this at all. A lot of these were kind of the extra plants that I had left over going into the extra pots that I had left over. Something I've fallen in love with that I didn't know I would fall in love with are these lilies. I left them even though they're kind of on their way out. They were much more even vibrant pink than this, but this is from Proven Winners bulb collection, which I think I planted back in April. It's the bulb collection that's all pink. And these, one, smell amazing. They were the first things I smelled every morning when I came outside. Again, their scent has kind of faded now, but they are so, so pretty. And then in the pot, I put in here Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, and then a Superbena Pink Cashmere. These were, I mean, the bubblegum is always one of my favorites every year, year after year. This was one of my favorites from last year with how it performed. Now, I do think it's kind of overcrowded in this pot, but we'll kind of see how it does. This pot, I'm loving how these colors are looking together. So actually, in the middle is a peony. I got some peonies. I've never done peonies before. I got them, I think, in March. I needed to put them somewhere. I tossed them in pots. There's actually three. There's one there, a second one there, a third one in the center of that pot. But I didn't want to just have a peony that's relatively small without flowers on it, so I did put annuals in it. Are you supposed to? Isn't that good? I don't know, but it's not dead yet, so it's not hurting. But in here I have up front, I have in here one of my favorites, again, from last year, but this is the Pink Lemonade. Is it Magic Pink Lemonade or Pink Lemonade Magic Super Bells? So pretty. That's one plant. These are begonias I got from the garden center that I don't even think were labeled. I think they just said begonias, which I find happens a lot. So begonia there, begonia there. And then this was one of the purple candy sun patience, which again, from the heat, didn't love it so much, but now does seem to be in recovery. So that's what is in this pot. Coming over here, I have another of the Superbena Pink Cashmere, but this time the Supertunia is the Fuchsia, Supertunia Vista Fuchsia right there. And those are the only two things in that pot, and I can tell that these are happier compared to the same pot, where I've also added the lilies. So they have a little bit more space here. I can tell that they are growing a bit more vigorously. In this pot here, I have another of the peonies, and then this sun patient is the Blush Orchid, which I think is so, so pretty. It's a very, very light purple color. And then in the front here is that same Solinia Apricot begonia that I have in that border that I showed you. So that's what's in that pot here. This one is the exact same as the pot on the other side. So the Supertunia Vista Fuchsia and then the Superbena Pink Cashmere. This is the same pot as this one over here, so all the same plants. And then that last one over there is the exact same with the lilies, Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum, and then the Super Bina. So these, I really love how this border has turned out, even though I think some plants I probably shoved just a bit too close together. Coming over here then, so like I said, this is the same Otto's Thrill Dahlia, but it is staying small, but flowering. I'll take a small plant that has flowers on it. We'll see though, because again, since these are new this year, I often get tubers that say they're one thing and then end up being another. So we'll see what that turns into. And then this last bed is a mirror image of that bed that was on the furthest left, but we do have some things that are a bit further along. So the status here is actually blooming. This is the apricot status, and I love this color so much. And I guess I kind of color coordinated, but I didn't really know how it was going to look. So this is the king size apricot China Aster, and I love how this very, very light apricot and this more kind of like dusty apricot look together. So I'm in love with that. And then also with just the color of the leaves on the celosia, I think this has turned out to be a really pretty combination. And I do need to harvest some of that status soon. Also, again, I have, wait, I just realized there is another China Aster opening, and this is definitely the Hazaster Hagen. So maybe I did do an apricot and a Hagen in each of these. So this one is a very, very light blue. I know it kind of looks white on camera. It's a very light bluish purple. That was not open when I was out here earlier. So I'm excited. We have the Cupcake Blush Cosmos. And then with the Gomphrena, another interesting thing. So this was supposed to be salmon. It's that rose color. What's on the right was supposed to be rose. It is very, very light pinky purple. This is the one that I also had in my front raised bed. So I have Snow White. That's different. That's a pure white. I don't know what this is. I didn't order anything that looked like this. I still really like it. No idea what it is. So I think that's interesting. We'll kind of see how this does, but I do plan to try to remember to save seeds this year. I'm very bad at that, so that I can keep the colors that I like and have them for next year. Now we'll start with this border. So on top of this wall, I have 3 containers of the Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum. Again, my favorites. I did do 1 plant in each this year. I think I did 2 in these last year, and they definitely needed a bit more room, so I only did 1, telling myself they would fill in, and they have. And then my plan always for this border here, when I first planted it, was to have it peeking over the couch, because last year I planted plants back here that only got to like 2 feet tall, and they got lost because you couldn't see them, and you really can't see anything back there that's not taller than the couch. But now the flowers are starting to peek over, and it is making me so happy. So I'll take you up close and show you what's blooming already. First of all, every single plant is planted in the 7-gallon Bootstrap Farmer grow bags. They are brown. I chose them because they would blend in, and then they each have the Home Depot 19-inch cages. So the planting was very similar across all of these. All of the zinnias that you see in here, these are from the Floret Precious Metals. It's a mix, so I wasn't sure what I was going to get. It seems like right now I have mostly yellows and peaches, and maybe no, I think all of them actually are blooming now, because there are 4 back here, so that's exciting to see them flowering. And then each of the dahlias, there are 4? I think 4 different varieties of dahlias, 3 of which have opened up. So again, all the zinnias are the Floret Precious Metals. This one is a very, very, very light yellow, and it's really pretty. They kind of have like almost like an iridescence to them that I don't think you can really see. This dahlia here is the Lilac Thyme, which I just recently harvested 1 of the blooms off of, and we have another one here. This is Fairway Spur. That hasn't bloomed yet on this plant, but there's a second one that is blooming that I'll show you in just a second. Another of the Precious Metals. This one is definitely more orangey. Still very pale. I think all of the colors in this collection were pale. So this is a very pale orange. I swear it looks more yellow on camera, but it's definitely more orange in person. Then we have, oh wait, you know what? I just realized this one is labeled as Otto's Thrill. So I think the two dahlias that are over here are the Penhill watermelon, which, if I'm looking at the label, that's what they say. So I should trust the label more than I trust my brain. So those should be both Penhill watermelon, which is a very, very light pink. This one here should be Otto's Thrill, which I think it kind of looks like it from the bud, and that's more of, not like a bright pink, but definitely like a deeper pink. Then over here, one of my favorites is the Thomas Edison Dahlia. It's just this beautiful, rich purple color. I was so excited when this first one started to open. We have another of the precious metal zinnia. I think this is the same one, like the same type as the one I just showed you, same variety, because it's that light orangish color. This dahlia here is another lilac thyme that hasn't opened yet. And then this is a fairway spur that has opened, and isn't this pretty? This one is also kind of, well, I don't know, maybe it's in its prime, almost about to fade, but I wanted to leave it on. But it's more of like orangey around the edges and then gets this really pretty pink in the center. I love it. I love it so much. And then here I have the final of the precious metals here. This one seems to be one of the lighter yellows. However, there is more of a tinge of pink on the outside petals. So I don't know if it is the same as the first one or not, but I'm really excited to see how each of these flowers looks. And then I have another Cupcake Blush Cosmos. This one hasn't flowered yet, but we do have buds. Now we have this section, and I know I said it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I feel like this view just makes me the happiest because there is so much color. When I got this bucket planter in either January or February, I had like envisioned in my head what it could be, and I feel like it's even better than that, so it makes me really happy. I'll go over the specific varieties I'm growing first, but basically I have the bucket planter, which in each is one annual. So one annual per planter. I know that I'm gonna have to prune those Supertunias. Behind it I have two Morning Glories, which again are already out of control, and it's just early July, so I need to get to pruning on those as well. And then I have what used to hold my beach plum tree that I think, again, got root rot, and I pulled that and planted up my largest pot here. So let's get in close and I'll talk about the specific varieties. In the largest pot here are 6 plants total, 3 different varieties, so 2 of each variety. The sweet potato vine, I think it's Sweetheart, or Sweet Caroline Sweetheart Lime is the name of it, and I think it is so pretty, especially mixed with the colors of the Supertunia. So Supertunia Vista Bubblegum and Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, and I wanted to see these all kind of intermingle and play together, and that is exactly what is happening. I think this pot is 24 inches in diameter, maybe up to 30, but it's definitely the largest single pot that's not a raised bed. Now my bucket planter, aka Nanette. Let's start with this bottom row here. So bottom row, I have 2 of the Supertunia Vista Fuchsia, so one here, one here. I have one of the purple Candy Sun Patience, one of the Orchid Blush Sun Patience. Because this gets the morning sun, like the first sun of the day, and then the afternoon it goes over the side of the house, these did the best in the 95 degree of all the Sun Patience that I had out here. Second row here, we have 2 of the Supertunia Vista Jazzberries, and then we have another one of the Slinia Apricot Begonia there, and one of the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens. This one is already getting taken over by the Supertunia, so I'm probably going to have to prune that, but this is the only Bidens I have back here. All of the other ones are up front on my flower cart. Then on the top row, we have 2 of the Superbells Pink Lemonade Magic Pink Lemonade on the top there in the first and third bucket, and then 2 varieties of Gomphrena. So Gomphrena Carmine on the left, and then this is the Snow White, the pure white color Gomphrena, which is different than what I'm seeing in my raised bed. So that's what's in my bucket planter, and I think that's everything that's growing in my garden back here. Let's do one more sweep from this angle, just because looking at my garden here makes me so happy. I do feel kind of bad for my front deck. I love it still, but there's just something about a garden just full of flowers that makes me so happy. So that is the garden tour for the back deck for July. it looks so beautiful, and there are still some things waiting to bloom. So I can't wait to see how they turn out, and that'll probably happen this month, obviously. I will update you in the videos here, but down below I will link the front tour, just so you can see that front deck and see how it's doing. And then I will also link down the previous months of both the front and the back deck. But that is going to be everything for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.